Hello and welcome back to my art vlog where I'm going to tell you about my week as a professional working artist and just some of the stuff that's gone on in my life this week. And it's been a little bit of a frustrating week for reasons kind of beyond my control. So one of the things that's been a bit of a problem this week is my internet speed. So we've had British Telecom, I think they're working down the road actually, and apparently the BT guy is in one of those metal boxes doing whatever they do, and it's caused me a few problems. So although I've had internet access, I haven't really been able to upload large files and things, so it's caused me a few problems with some updates that I was doing to my website. And I did manage to do YouTube okay, so the video uploaded okay. I think it was still behaving at that point, but it's been a bit of a frustrating week. So regarding work that I was doing on arranging the art fair I'm running in July and also arranging the exhibition I'm running in August, I didn't get as much done as I wanted to get done. One of the things that I did however get done was I ordered something like 44 meters of white twill fabric for the art fair. Now every year I'm trying to invest a little bit of money back into it so that we can just make it a bit nicer. And what I did last year was I told all the artists that they had to have white cloths on their plinths and on their tables. Now this is obviously not for screen artists, this is for potters and jewellers and people like that. I'd been to another exhibition and they'd used white cloths everywhere and it looked so professional and so lovely, so I thought, oh, we should have that. But of course some of the artists don't read the things I send them, and some of them turned up with the wrong colours, and I had to I was being quite mean. I was actually sending them across the road. We've got a nice fabric store, and I said over the road, buy yourself 1.5 meters of white fabric, just some curtain lining or something, and put it on your stall. And so they all looked nice, but they could have been neater, because obviously there's lots of different colours of white, people bringing stuff in from home, people bringing in cloths that were too big for the plinths and had to be bundled underneath, and the excess fabric tucked up. So I decided that this year one of the things I wanted to offer our artists was proper plinth covers and proper table covers, and I've actually done a deal with a local company. So I've had to buy the fabric, which was well over £200, but I'm actually getting it stitched by a local company. Now I can sew myself, but I haven't got an industrial machine, and frankly I haven't got the time to do it either. So there's a local company near to us that makes curtains and blinds, and they sponsored the art fair last year. So this year, as sponsorship, rather than paying for their advertising in the leaflet, what they're going to do is they're going to do all the hemming and the trimming of these tablecloths, and in return I'm going to give them an advertisement in the art fair leaflet that comes out. We've got about 5,000 leaflets coming out. So there are always ways of doing deals, and it just doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. So if you're doing something similar, then don't be afraid just to business sponsorship doesn't always have to come in the form of money. Sometimes it can just come in the form of favours and just things that you need doing, and you can come to an arrangement that's mutually beneficial between both parties. Now, something else that happened this morning that was frustrating and annoying was I had to yet again deal with unsolicited messages through my Facebook art page, and so some guys sending me private messages. I have to deal with stuff like this, as many as 3 times a week, and I am a middle-aged woman who is, fairly ordinary looking and 5'3" tall. Now, God knows how much harassment young, tall, pretty women get, because it just must be off the scale. And, we just get so fed up with it. It's so intrinsic to society, and it's so everywhere on the internet. So not only do you have to deal with, as you become more popular and as you get a bigger following, you have to deal with, complete idiots leaving stupid comments, but you also have to deal with basically harassment. And they're quite insidious about it, these people. What they do is they don't immediately ask to see your underwear, though that has happened. I've got very pretty underwear actually, but you're not seeing it. So they don't immediately ask to see your underwear. What they do is they just send you a little message and say, hi, how are you? Hi, lovely to meet you. All of this nonsense. And then if you respond, the next thing they say is, oh, you're really pretty. And then after that, it's, oh, have you got a boyfriend? Have you got a husband? I mean, just seriously, guys, leave it out. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I don't give a crap about these people. They're just an irritation to me, and one of the reasons they annoy me is because they actually affect my Facebook message response time, which is something that Facebook measures. It measures how quickly I respond to customers, and it doesn't know that I'm just getting harassment messages. So I'm going to have to put an autoresponder on that account so that I'm not constantly getting knocked down in the metrics for Facebook. So as a woman, this is something you deal with all the time online, and it's just completely out of order. As I said, it doesn't bother me personally because I'm older and I've been through a lot. You know, I was a single parent for 9 years. If that doesn't make you tough, then nothing ever will. I've been through cancer treatment and surgeries and all sorts of things, you know, and all of the things that, you know, every other human being on this planet has to go through, losing friends, stuff like that. In my spare time, my hobby is actually martial arts, so I spend my evenings learning self-defense techniques. So I am not, you know, these people don't bother me. However, when I look back and, you know, 30 years ago, and when I think about younger women getting these, you know, these messages, it must be so frightening, and they must be just worried that this person might turn up on their doorstep. So if you happen to be watching this minor rant of mine and you're a man, let me explain when it's acceptable to send unsolicited messages to a woman that you don't know on the internet. The answer to that is never. It is never acceptable. You know, dating sites exist. I'm not against meeting people online. I've made some wonderful friends online, some that I've met and some that I haven't met, some really, really important relationships. I actually met my partner of 12 years online, so that was, you know, that's lovely. It's possible to make authentic friendships with people online, and I really appreciate all the people that I get to know online. But just sending these, you know, pointless harassment messages, you know, just if you're a guy and if you've ever thought about doing this, you know, it's not advisable. Just stop. So ran over and onto the actual work I did this week. So on Wednesday, actually, I went to I got up early, which I hate getting up early. I can't stand mornings. I'm definitely a night owl, but I got up early, as I do every second Wednesday. And the reason I got up early was because I had business networking. Now, it might seem strange for an artist to do business networking, and it seemed at the beginning it was a bit of an odd thing for me to do, but I've just found it so incredibly useful. Now, I don't particularly go to networking meetings in order to find business. What I go for is firstly to learn from other people, and also just to make connections in my locality. So, you know, the people I've met, it's just been so useful, and it's, you know, it's kind of serendipity. It's like a lucky dip. You go to a networking meeting and you just never know who you're going to meet. And it may not even be business. You might just find, you know, you might have been having back pain and, you know, you find someone who's an acupuncturist and they can help you. You know, it's just a wonderful thing to do. So if you've ever thought about doing it and thought, well, this might be a bit of a strange thing for an artist to do, you know, go for it, go along. Make sure you've got some business cards and just go in and introduce yourself. So you can do regular networking if you find a group like I have, or you can just do these one-off things. And often there'll be business conferences and they'll have something called speed networking, which is a bit like speed dating but without the dating. So you just sort of swap tables often, introduce yourself to new people and just sort of speak about what you do. And there's no need to be nervous because everyone's in the same boat, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It's been so useful to my career, and it's helped me in ways that I would never have imagined. Another thing I did yesterday was to teach my regular classes. So I have 2 classes, morning and afternoon. They're the same class, I just repeat them. I used to have 4 classes, actually I had 2 on a Saturday as well, but it just became far too much of my time it was taking up. So I have 2 classes on a Friday in a place called Chapel, which is about 20 minutes drive away, and I literally just hire a village hall there. I have worked in other studios, and I do still do day courses in other art studios, which can be a little less work because you can walk in and all the equipment that you need to teach is there. For instance, I teach 1-day courses in our local art shop in the next biggest town, which is Colchester. And it's so nice because I can just walk in and everything I need is there. You know, I haven't got to worry that I've forgotten to take pencils or paint or, you know, the subject or anything else. So if you're hiring a venue, you've got to remember all this stuff, and you can make checklists, but when week after week you look at the same checklist, it's easy to miss stuff. You know, I have forgotten things, but nothing too serious, so we've got by. So this week, my weekly students, I had them painting in acrylics for a change. We normally do watercolours, but I like to mix it up sometimes, and some of them like painting in acrylics, so we painted in acrylics. So some people working on paper and some people working on canvas and canvas boards. And we were copying from photographs of from a book I got. We were copying pictures by Frida Kahlo. So a lot of those were her self-portraits, but also some other things as well. Now, if you're going to copy another artist, it's really important to understand that you don't own the copyright to those things, so you shouldn't really put them up for sale. But as a learning technique, it can be very, very useful. So it's only something I do about every 6 months. I don't really believe in you know, constantly copying other people's content. But just now and again, it can be really, really interesting, because you're sort of faced with these choices when you're looking at the painting, and you're almost trying to figure out, you know, in what order the colours were applied and how the artist worked. So it's a real insight into working techniques. If you want to see those photographs that my students made, then, you know, those paintings that my students made, you can just hop over to my Facebook group. So there's a link in the description below. So you can pop over there and join my closed group and start interacting and see the paintings of Frida Kahlo that my students did this week. So another thing I did this week was to make a new YouTube video, and this one was some social media training, because a lot of people, when they're using social media, a lot of artists are trying to use social media to get their work seen, and, you know, putting up their pictures and things, and they might not be getting any engagement. And there are certain things that you do within your posts that actually affect how the algorithm, which is the artificial intelligence program that runs these social media sites, you know, that's in the background, you know, checking up on what you're doing. There are certain things that you can put in your posts that can actually harm the amount that your stuff is shown to other people. So I've got that video up. I'll link to it at the end, and you can see there's 10 reasons there why your posts on social media might be being ignored. So these are not posts specific to one platform. It's not all about Facebook or Twitter. This is just general stuff that goes for all platforms. And if you're really looking to promote your artwork, or even just to get more engagement and more people chatting with you, I want you to watch that video, and I'll let you know some of the reasons. You know, there are things that, you know, almost secrets, I would say, reasons that people might not be seeing your social media posts in the first place, and other reasons why they might not feel necessary to engage with you. So, you know, before you can learn what to do right, it's always good to learn what you're doing wrong. And I will be doing another training. Actually, I'm probably going to do one on sort of to give you a template for some posts that get really good engagement on social media. But in terms of this one, it's just a matter of the things that you shouldn't be doing. So I want you to hop over and have a look at that after this video, and I think you'll find it really helpful. So at this point, I'm going to point the camera downwards and just show you where I'm at with the bird painting that I was working on last week. That's the one with the sort of the acrylic background and then the watercolour. So I'm going to be putting some collage on that soon. So I'll point the camera down and show you where I'm up to with it. So here's the painting I was working on last week. So you can see I've done a bit more to it. So I'd initially wanted to have the branch that the bird was sitting on in sort of a light colour. But actually, when I painted it light, I discovered it wasn't sort of giving me the tonal contrast I wanted. So I then went in with some darker colours. So that's kind of, I think I went in with sepia and something like a Venetian red or red oxide there. So that worked quite well. And then I finished off doing the flowers. Now, the bubble technique, which uses detergent in the mix, had actually damaged this sizing on my paper, which was something I hadn't realised. Now, the sizing is the coating they put on when the paper's made. So it does mean that I didn't quite get, you know, there wasn't the crispness to the edges that I sometimes get. You know, certain areas of the flowers did bleed out a little bit. And, you know, you have to just accept things as they are. And so, you know, this, you know, I like the background technique, so I'm going to just accept that in some areas the paint bled a little bit. So what typically happens if the sizing comes off of your paper is that if you're painting on dry paper, the paint can still bleed. So generally, if you were painting on dry paper, the paint wouldn't bleed. It would only bleed if the paper was wet. But if the sizing's gone, you know, you find all sorts of strange things happen. The other thing that happened was the detergent has sort of damaged the surface of the paper, so that when I tried to mask out some central lines on these leaves, and if you want to see sort of step-by-step photos of that, it's over on my Facebook page, and I think actually I think it's my Facebook group, so you'll find a link to that in the description below. But one thing that happened was I tried to mask out the centre of the leaves, and when I took the masking fluid off, it tore. Now, I'm forever moaning at my students for doing ridiculous things with masking fluid and tearing their paper, and here I am tearing my own paper, even though I essentially did everything right. And the reason for that is because the detergent had damaged the surface of the paper and made it a lot more fragile. But you know, these things just happen when you're doing something experimental or something you haven't tried before. You know, you do live and learn. So I put some more coats of green on the leaves, and they started to look a little better. I'm probably going to put some kind of semi-transparent collage over them, and I haven't started working on the bird yet. So the bird is going to have some collage on, and probably some underneath layers of paint as well. So that's where I am with Mr. Bird, and I'll show you next week. Hopefully it will be finished. So I hope you enjoyed that little look into my week. On this channel you'll find art tips, art techniques, art business advice and social media training for artists. So do consider subscribing, and you can watch another video right now.